This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Tom Byrne.
Always good to have you guys listening. Don't forget, if you ever miss any of your favorite shows right here on SiriusXM Mad Dog Sports Radio, you can go back, find them on the SiriusXM app. We appreciate everybody who's watching for free on Orca TV as well. Let's get Glenn Clark in as promised, WBAL Radio and Press Box Online. Glenn, we really appreciate you. So I'm going to start with the Ravens. I do got a lot to get into as far as the Orioles are concerned, but as Ravens camp ramps up, what's the biggest storyline in Baltimore? Is it actually that Lamar Jackson is becoming a little underrated if you look at a lot of these lists?
Yeah, underrated to say the least. Imagine believing that there are, 60-some better players in the NFL than Lamar Jackson. Tom, I appreciate you having me. Look, I think the Ravens can block all that out. I think the bigger storyline here is still, what does a Declan Doyle offense look like? And, what can Jesse Minter, sprinkle some magic pixie dust over the defense combined with a healthy Trey Hendrickson to change what has been a majorly disappointing unit the last couple of years since Mike Macdonald's departure? Can he have a similar type of effect as Mike Macdonald had when he was DC in Baltimore? I think those are the bigger internal storylines. Look, for guys like me and you, every time Lamar Jackson is low on one of these lists, it's great fodder for us.
Of course.
And it's absurd. But, he still does have to prove that last year was more about injuries than, the idea that he's maybe descending in his career.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Lamar is getting to the point now where he's actually undervalued, which is wild considering all the awards he's won.
Two-time MVP, right.
Right. It's silly. Were you at all surprised, Glenn, by what they did when they told John Harbaugh, hey, we love you. Yeah. It's just time to move on. I figured they go in a totally different direction, right? But they go out and get a Harbaugh disciple. I'm confused. If you move off Harbaugh, why not go all in? What did you make of what they did at the coaching?
We had those conversations. I'm surprised and not surprised at the same time. Okay. I was of the opinion that if you were going to do this, then it was time to go a different direction.
Yeah.
That said, I do think that this is an organization, much like the Pittsburgh Steelers, that still values the concept of continuity and could say at the same time, while we think perhaps that John Harbaugh's message is maybe a little bit stale, we don't want to do things in an utterly completely different way. We still want continuity and a belief in the way the Ravens do things. And so being able to hire someone who, look, obviously was on his way to becoming a head coach in Jesse Minter and was going to be in the mix for other jobs this offseason, who also has experience in our building, not just doing it John Harbaugh's way, but doing things the way that we do them. Is it definitively proven that it's going to work? I mean, they've won 2 Super Bowls, but that's in the span of 25 years. There's no guarantee that the Ravens are going to continue to be a championship contending organization, but for the most part, they're in the mix and they win. So I can understand, hey, let's make a change. Let's not completely rock the boat. I probably would have, if I was in that position, wanted to do something different, but I can't be shocked because this is Steve Bisciotti's MO. He doesn't like to fire coaches. If I have to fire coaches, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to rock the boat in this process.
All right, let's do some Orioles. I'm fascinated by what they did. Was trading Adley Rutschman, Glenn, the right baseball decision, even if it was a brutal, emotional one?
It probably was, but yeah, you're right, Tom. It's very difficult. Here's what I would say. For the return they got, it's really hard to knock it. For a catcher who has been injury prone, was hitting .219 since May, and was frankly pretty bad in the second half of 2024 and all of 2025. I think they really cashed in on a hot start to the season and got everything they could possibly get and not allowed him to become a rental piece next year that you are trading for pennies on the dollar the way that the last administration did with Manny Machado once upon a time. That said, it's still difficult, and you still don't look at this Orioles team right now and say they're on the cusp. They're 3 games under 500 after they won tonight. They are obviously in the mix for a playoff spot because the American League is so mid, but that's not a great statement about them. It's just more of a statement about how the American League is. They got to prove that they can actually add the pieces necessary to contend for a championship. But it's a pretty impressive haul. I'm sure you've seen everything that's been said by executives throughout baseball. I've had, the baseball people that I've reached out to around the league say they were blown away that this is what they were able to get. They forced the Red Sox to pay an in-division tax. It's hard to knock them for this specifically, but they still have to prove that they can become championship contenders.
And what's the mood around Baltimore, around Orioles fans? Anger, optimism, just confusion? Are people happy with this?
Yeah, anger and confusion are prevalent. No, nobody's happy with it because it feels so similar. Right? Look, one of the things that everybody around baseball, everybody in New York when Adley Rutschman got drafted said enjoy him until he's a Yankee in a few years. This is who the Orioles are. They're the feeder team for everybody else. You draft a player that'll come good, we're going to sign him eventually. The Orioles have to prove that's not who they are, and they've started to do that a little bit with new ownership the last couple of years. They did sign Samuel Basallo and Kyle Bradish, and they did go out and get Pete Alonso, who's been great this year. So they've made a few signals that they are changing their reputation a little bit, but they've got to prove that, and obviously it comes as everybody's looking at what's going to happen with the work stoppage and the future of baseball. But I think for Orioles fans, it's a lot of, we've seen this before. This is how this works here. We fall in love with a guy, and they're just going to be gone and playing somewhere else.
Yeah, and then you have the Red Sox angle, too. How painful is it seeing Boston land a player like Rutschman inside the division, if he ends up staying healthy, of course?
Right, if he ends up staying healthy, and then frankly, considering the fact that I think you would agree that right now the Red Sox, I think all of us believe, if I'm putting bets in on who's going to win the American League, it's the Red Sox, right? Like, they look like the team to beat. So, yeah, if Adley Rutschman is beating the Orioles this year down the stretch, keeping them out of the playoffs and winning a World, it's going to be incredibly painful. I think right now Orioles fans are accepting all right, if you had to trade him in the division to get the most you could possibly get, Anthony Ianson looks like the real deal as a pitching prospect. Obviously, we've said that about a lot of guys over the years that haven't panned out, but, he looks the part. If that's what it took, fine, but it is a bitter pill to swallow, and if he succeeds and ends up signing there and staying there long term, boy, that one will be really, really difficult for the Orioles in the coming years.
Glenn Clark doing an excellent job, WBAL Radio. Glenn, I'll ask you, should Major League Baseball fans be upset with the Dodgers or with owners who refuse to spend?
Yeah, you're right. The way that you phrase that is the correct answer because it isn't the Dodgers' fault. No, it's not the Dodgers. Every fan of every team in baseball would want their organization to operate the way the Dodgers do. Yeah. And you're right. Blame the owners, but everybody's got to get together to fix this. This is not I don't think we should root for the owners. They're largely soul-sucking ghouls, but I do think that the sport has to be fixed. There has to be competitive balance. You need people in Cincinnati and Milwaukee and Baltimore and Detroit to be as excited about the start of the season as they are in L.A. and Chicago and New York.
Yeah, but do you expect anything to get done in the upcoming CBA
No, of course not.
Yeah,
Of course not. I don't expect anything to get done. I expect a lot of, chest thumping, and then when the season's about to start and you're about to lose baseball, the owners will capitulate and the players will continue to just go sign with the Dodgers and the Mets and the Yankees, and it'll all be the exact same moving forward.
All right, give me one breakout Ravens player this year. Who comes to mind?
Right now, the guy that's impressing is mid-round pick Jacoby Lane, rookie wide receiver. Yeah. And, there is a wide-open competition behind Rashad Bateman right now to be the Ravens' third receiver. And remember, they've had, a lot of their production sucked up by tight ends in recent years. But with Isaiah Likely gone, there's two knowns in Zay Flowers, who got his extension, Mark Andrews. There's kind of a half a known in Rashad Bateman. There's an awful lot of catches to go around after that and no known commodities to get them. I would really be interested in Jacoby Lane. I'm not sure he's worth like a late-round fantasy flyer, but I would keep your eye on it as it's looking more and more like he's a guy that could slot in at number 3. And given his size, I think he could get a few opportunities in the red zone. He's someone that I am really high on. I think also this is the addition of Trey Hendrickson will be huge for Mike Green, their second-round pick from a year ago, who everyone thought was going to be a first-round pick, had a quiet year, but with all the attention that's going to be paid to Trey Hendrickson, I think that it shapes up for him to have a big year as well.
I'm curious, one of the Ravens' rivals is getting a lot of love. I just don't buy them. The Cincinnati Bengals. Do you think they've improved enough? I look at a lot of holes in the defensive side of the ball, and that offensive line still has to prove it.
Look, man, Dexter Lawrence, you're never going to question that, right? Like that's a hell of a football player. But I think what you said about the offensive line is still the biggest story there is. The jokes in Baltimore is the Bengals announced they're going to wear their all-white uniforms on December 31st, and we're thinking, well, what will Joe Flacco look like when he's wearing that uniform? Because there's just no way that Joe Burrow is going to possibly be playing in that game because they continue to refuse to put the heavy emphasis, and they know what they're dealing with his injury history. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Bengals are in it because Joe Burrow can, as long as he's healthy, can still win games. 48-40, like he has proven that over and over again. But is he going to stay healthy? I have serious doubts. I don't know why this year would suddenly be the year that all comes together for them.
How about Pittsburgh? Aaron Rodgers back this time with Mike McCarthy. Can you expect a team that's been pretty consistently good, not great in the regular season,
average,
and bad in the playoffs, to be anything else than that this season?
I'd bank on them being 9-8. I mean, I don't know what the odds are for them specifically being 9-8, but that's exactly what I think they'll be. I guess if there's an argument, I don't think Mike McCarthy's a bad coach, but I don't think he's Mike Tomlin. I think the reverence that the people in Baltimore have for Mike Tomlin might be even greater than the reverence for folks in Pittsburgh. What Mike Tomlin did probably worth a win or two every season because you keep looking at what he's been working with post Ben Roethlisberger's prime. It's a miracle that they have remained competitive as an organization with the guys they've trotted out, the corpse of Russell Wilson, trotting out there, Justin Fields, this version of Aaron Rodgers, and to keep winning. I do think that's going to cost them. Look, I still think they've got enough pieces that it's hard to think they're going to be anything worse than in the mix, 8-9, 9-8. But I think that there's a price to be paid for not having Mike Tomlin, because I really do think that we might look in 10 years and say this was truly one of the great coaches of this era. He just didn't end up with these Super Bowl titles to back that up because of what he was working with at the end.
It's an interesting point that you bring up with Baltimore maybe having more respect right now than Pittsburgh fans. I think you're right. I mean, I may have taken 100
It might be the same way. It might be that in Pittsburgh, they might feel the same way about John Harbaugh in Pittsburgh, right? Like that might be the case here. But I'm telling Mike Tomlin is an outstanding football coach, man. Like,
did a great
we
job.
joke about him deserving the Nobel Peace Prize for what he did with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, but like, my God, dude, that guy can coach. Like I said it, like the idea, I would have taken that guy in Baltimore in a heartbeat. That dude can coach flat out. What he's done is incredible.
Any thought that Shedeur Sanders could be the Browns franchise quarterback?
No. Talk about it. Look, so here's what I'd say, right? If Deshaun Watson is getting outplayed by Shedeur Sanders, my God, like what a sick. There is an argument that if you're Cleveland, you just play him anyway. I mean, just find out. But I was in Cleveland for the game a year ago when he came off the bench and the place lost its mind, and they were so excited because they just wanted to feel something because, it's Cleveland, it's the Browns. There's nothing there. I mean, there's just nothing there as far as an NFL quarterback is concerned. I get it. They don't have – if your option is Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders, you're either playing one guy to justify the amount of money he's making or you're playing the other guy to justify the attention that he's been given. There's no NFL quarterback between the two of them. So, this is the reality. The shame is they have a decent roster that they put together, but it's just irrelevant because it's such a black hole at the quarterback position.
Glenn, you did an excellent job. We appreciate you filling in the blanks for us with Baltimore. Before I let you go, I get into these sort of things. I've been down to Camden Yards the last couple of years. I've not made it down. I'm wondering, what's attendance looking like this year? Last time I was there, I was a little worried. I tried to take the kid to the bathroom upstairs, and I had security guards running after me. Hey, this section's completely shut down. I got to be honest. I'd never heard of such a thing. Is it getting any better?
During the week, they're still shutting down some of the upper deck sections. Look, weekends are great. They've still got to win fans back with their performance during the week. And that's not unique to Baltimore, obviously. There's a lot of places that are dealing with that when it comes to baseball. And they raised ticket prices this year despite a very disappointing 2025 season, and so that plays into it. Again, the weekends, it's a mob scene. I was there on Friday night, and yes, this was unique. There were some Phillies fans in town, but
Sure.
it was insane. The atmosphere was incredible. They've got to earn that back. They've got to prove that they're going to consistently contend in order to get it there. But it's Camden Yards. They've upgraded the sound system. It feels more modern. It looks great. It's beautiful, but they've just got to keep putting winning baseball on the field in order for that to work.
I'll tell you what I love as a father of four. They still have that special where the kids get free tickets. That's pretty good.
It was a good idea. Former owner John Angelos had that idea, and it was a very good idea for getting people to the ballpark. I got two sons, so I've taken advantage of it. In my life as well. It's a really good idea. I more of that throughout sports. Maybe they did a bit with like the Falcons where they made some concessions a little bit less expensive, more forward thinking and getting young people to the ballpark. My kids love every time we go. Everyone in sports should be thinking about the affordability and needing the next generation to enjoy getting out the game.
100%. Glenn Clark, excellent job. Make sure you follow along WBAL Radio and Pressbox Online. Thank you, Glenn.
Tom, appreciate you, man. Have a great night.
You too. AAA Mad Dog 6 will get you guys in. 888-623-3646. Would we look at George Pickens as a big deal if he were not a Dallas Cowboy? And his time as a Cowboy might be ticking away. More on that next. I'm Tom Byrne. This is VSiN Live.